It's a common problem. You and a few of your friends, or maybe you and a buddy, you start a company together. And you go into it with this thought process that you guys are going to make all the decisions together and it's going to be great and it's going to be so much fun. And then reality hits. And the reality is that there can't be two leaders. There can't be two CEOs. There can't be three CEOs. There's just you, the CEO. But the problem is you guys have been buddies. So this video is all about how do you go from being a peer to being the CEO. Plus, stick around till the end of the video because I'm going to give you a free checklist to help you with being the CEO and starting your company as well. Hi, I'm Brett Fox, and I've built several companies from nothing to over $100 million a year in revenue. And in today's video, as I said, we're going to talk about how you go from being a peer to being the CEO. So let's go. Let's get started. So let's start with the hardest part of the challenge of going from being a peer to being a CEO, and that's that you're no longer friends anymore. Now, you may be friends off of work, but the reality is that during the time that you're working together, you're the CEO, you're the leader. And that means things have changed forever. Whether your peers or your ex-peers recognize it or not, you recognize it, that you're the CEO, you're the leader. And that means there's some realities. The first reality is you can't share everything anymore with your peers. You can't. There's too much risk. There are too many challenges, there are too many issues that can come from it. You just can't do it anymore. So that means you can't share your deepest fears, your deepest challenges with your founders, with your peers anymore. It just doesn't work that way anymore. The second issue is you're no longer one of the gang anymore. You're the CEO. Again, whether your peers or your ex-peers recognize it or not, you're the CEO. You're the leader of the company. That means you're essentially, I don't want to say above everybody else because you're not, but you are different than everybody else. There's a different thing. Nothing can prepare you for this. I can just tell you from experience that it's real. This will lead to the next reality. The next reality is you're no longer going to make every decision together as a group. That's really uncomfortable because it's very likely, if your experience is similar to mine, I'll share my experience with you in just a second, that some of your co-founders may believe that they are entitled to make decisions with you. And that's just not the way it works. I had this problem with two of my co-founders. They had as much experience as me, maybe even more experience than I did. And they thought, for whatever reason, that we should have an office of the president. And what did they do? They waited until we were about to close our funding before they threw this one on me. And they said, hey, Brett, we may not join the company unless you agree that we should form an office of the president. Isn't that nice? I really didn't think so, but that's what they did. So here we are, and they threatened, that they may walk out, and that would kill our fundraising ability if they did it. No matter how hard it is, no matter how tough it is, you have to say no, which is what I did. And I asked a simple question of my co-founders. I asked them, have you ever seen a company succeed with this type of alignment before? Have you? And the answer was no, they hadn't. That shut them up, and that ended it. So whatever it is, whatever the pressure is on you, you have to resist it. You are the leader. That means you're different anymore. That brings me to my next reality, that some of your co-founders may never accept the fact that you're the leader. And that is very uncomfortable. It's, to me, one of the saddest things about being a CEO is that there are going to be some people out there that, for whatever the reasons are, they're just not going to accept it, and those people will inevitably leave the company. That's what is likely to happen, either by their own doing, they'll quit, or you'll let them go. In my particular case, those two co-founders, within a year of them pulling that deal on me at the last second, One of them I had to fire, the other one quit before I fired him. That's what happens in these situations many, many times. Either they accept it or they don't. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't go forward, because if you truly believe in your mission, if you're truly fanatical about what you're doing, and to be a CEO of a startup, you almost have to be fanatical. So if you truly believe, if you're truly fanatical, then you understand, you know what? It sucks, and it truly does suck, but some of these people may not be there for the long run. And that means they'll leave. I know that's uncomfortable. That's just the way it is. Now let's go to your mindset as CEO. Now that we've covered the really uncomfortable stuff of dealing with co-founders, well, one of your mindsets is this. You are the CEO. Assume the position of being the CEO. Now, what do I mean by this? Part of the challenge is there's a lot of indecision that we normally have when we assume a role for the first time. We don't know, well, should I do this? Should I be consulting these people? What should I do? Well, assume the position. Act like the CEO, be the CEO, make decisions like the CEO, because if you don't, let me explain what will happen. There will be a vacuum that is set up. And by vacuum, I mean there will be information missing, there'll be decisions that aren't made. And when there's a vacuum, by definition, somebody fills the vacuum. And who fills the vacuum? Well, it could be your co-founders fill the vacuum. It could be other employees fill the vacuum. It could be investors fill the vacuum. None of that is good for the company. That's why you need to assume the position, as uncomfortable it is. Now, here's the one thing you want to avoid. You want to avoid the, what I call, kill the company decisions. Now, what's a kill the company decision? That's making this one bet that if you make this bet and you bet wrong, the company is over. Those are the ones you want to avoid at all costs. Now, usually, even though startups are in theory like one bet things, they really aren't. If you do it right, you won't find yourself in this position. And the decisions that you're going to make, most of them are not going to be kill the company decisions. This leads to my next point about what you should do. Remember this. Really good people want to be managed. They're expecting you to lead. The people that aren't, and the people that believe that they should be CEO and that they have an exalted status, they will eventually leave the company, or they'll get religion and get on board. Don't worry about them. However, for the rest of the team, they're waiting for you. They're expecting you to lead. So lead them. Guide them. Tell them where the company is going. Now, how do you do this? Well, you do this through communication. There are a few tools at your disposal. The first is have regular company meetings. Regular meetings with the whole company, telling them what's going on. They want to know, they're interested, they need to know. Now, this leads to my next point. Be transparent with your team. Be open with your team. As much information as you can share, and this will vary from culture to culture, share that information with your team. Don't be afraid to share bad information with your team. I've been surprised over and over again in my career how by sharing bad information, I built trust with my team. And then when I really needed the team to come through and to step up, they stepped up. That's what I've seen over and over again. Let me share with you. When we were raising money for our second round of funding, we had an investor that was just horrible to deal with, and they put us to the brink of disaster. They asked us to essentially shut down the company right when we were about to get money. So I suggested, because I'd done the planning before, they brought this on me in a board meeting, and I happened to be prepared. And I said, you know what? Why don't we put everybody on minimum wage? If we go to minimum wage, we get another 6 weeks of money for the company, and we can play out the hand. We had several investors right about to give us term sheets. Our investors agreed. Now, the tough part was telling the company, hey, we're going to go to minimum wage. Who wants to hear that? It's not exactly a fun thing to hear, but because we had been transparent, Because we had told them the truth, when we told them we're going to minimum wage, we told them why, we told them we were asking them to sacrifice. It was one of my proudest moments being a CEO, if not my proudest moment being a CEO. As I told them this, they asked me tons of really good questions for about an hour. I expected the meeting to end with them walking out very quietly back to their desks, maybe leaving for the day. It was on a Friday afternoon. We told them all of this. Instead, you know what they did, which blew my mind? They applauded. Who would have thought that? They actually applauded what I was going to tell them, that they were going to go to minimum wage. The reason why I believe they applauded was because we as a management team had been very honest with them. We'd been truthful, we'd been honest, we'd been transparent, so they believed us. This is part of being a leader. Be transparent. It will pay off for you. Now let me tell you about a free tool that I've developed for you. This tool is a free startup checklist. It has a whole bunch of different points that you need to make sure that you've got covered when you're starting your business. All you need to do, there's a link below this video, all you need to do is click this link and it's yours. I've enjoyed speaking with you today. I'm Brett at brettjfox.com. Have a great, great day.